This is Daily Indian News Podcast from IDN Podcast Service.
This podcast is hosted by Jeff in August. Today's stories are:
Coronavirus live updates, lockdown in Pune from the 13th of July to the 23rd of July. LAC standoff live updates, in diplomatic talks, India and China agree on complete. Kanpur encounter live updates, Vikas Dubey killed, 3 injured cops stable, bullets brushed by 2 of them. Eye on China, India to invite Australia for Malabar naval exercise. Government holds back full industrial output data for second month in May. US aerospace major Boeing completes delivery of 37 military helicopters to India. Turkish court rules to let Hagia Sophia return as mosque.
Coronavirus live updates. Lockdown in Pune from the 13th of July to the 23rd of July. COVID cases in India rose by 26,500 on Thursday, setting daily record. Total coronavirus cases in India is now 793,802 and 604 people have died due to the virus. The govt continues to maintain there is no community spread yet. LAC standoff live updates. In diplomatic talks, India and China agree on complete disengagement of troops from eastern Ladakh after several rounds of military and diplomatic level talks. Indian and Chinese troops have begun a disengagement process near the Lak in Ladakh.
30-second sponsorship ad.
If you haven't about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make podcast. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, ABD, many more. You can make money from your podcast, with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast, in one place. Download the Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started.
Powered by Anchor.
Kanpur encounter live updates. Vikas Dubey killed, 3 injured cops stable, bullets brushed by 2 of them. Gangster Vikas Dubey, wanted for the killing of the 8 policemen, was fired at when he tried to flee after a police convoy taking him to Kanpur had overturned. As per the police, Dubey snatched the pistol from one of the 4 injured policemen and was injured in an encounter. Doctors declared him dead at the hospital. Eye on China, India to invite Australia for Malabar naval exercise. New Delhi, India plans to invite Australia to join the annual Malabar naval exercise that has so far included just Japan and the US, in a move that could risk China's ire. The decision to include Australia in the drills, the first time all members of the regional grouping known as the Quad will be engaged at a military level, comes as Beijing and New Delhi are caught up in their worst border tensions in 4 decades. The exercise will bring together the navies of India, Japan, Australia and the US in the Bay of Bengal at the end of the year, according to senior Indian officials who asked not to be identified, citing rules. New Delhi is expected to clear the way next week for a formal invitation to Australia following final government clearance and consultations with the US and Japan, the officials said. The timing of India potentially letting Australia into Malabar would be especially significant at this juncture, said Derek Grossman, researcher at the Washington-based RAND Corporation who worked in the US intelligence community for more than a decade. It would send a significant message to China that the Quad, US, Australia, Japan, and India, are de facto conducting joint naval exercises, even if not technically conducted under the auspices of a Quad event. Government holds back full industrial output data for second month in May. New Delhi, the government has held back the release of complete industrial production data for the second straight month in May in view of the impact of the coronavirus-induced lockdown. The Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation on Friday released quick estimates of the index of industrial production, IIP, which showed the index value at 88.4 in May against 53.6 in April, indicating a graded pickup in industrial activity. The index stood at 135.4 in May 2019. The ministry did not provide any comparable percentage data while noting that it is not appropriate to compare the IIP data with earlier months due to COVID-19 lockdown. The IIP data comes with a lag of 6 weeks. In view of preventive measures and announcement of nationwide lockdown by the government to contain spread of COVID-19 pandemic, majority of the industrial sector establishments were not operating from the end of March 2020 onwards. This has had an impact on the items being produced by the establishments during the period of lockdown and the subsequent periods of conditional relaxations in restrictions, the ministry said in a release. U.S. aerospace major Boeing completes delivery of 37 military helicopters to India. New Delhi. In the midst of India's tense border standoff with China, U.S. aerospace major Boeing delivered the final 5 of the 22 Apache attack helicopters to the Indian Air Force around 2 weeks ago, and the entire fleet is now part of the assets deployed in key air bases along the line of actual control, officials said on Friday. Boeing said it completed delivery of all 22 Apache and 15 Chinook military helicopters to the IAF and is fully committed to meet the operational needs of the Indian Armed Forces. The R-64E Apache is one of the world's most advanced multi-role combat helicopters and is flown by the U.S. Army. The Chinook is a multi-role, vertical lift platform, primarily used for transporting troops, artillery, equipment and fuel. India signed a multi-billion-dollar contract with Boeing to procure 22 Apache helicopters and 15 Chinooks for the IAF in September 2015. Another contract for the acquisition of 6 Apaches for the Indian Army was signed during President Donald Trump's visit here in February.
Turkish court rules to let Hagia Sophia return as mosque. Ankara, Turkey's highest administrative court issued a ruling Friday that paves the way for the government to convert Istanbul's iconic Hagia Sophia, a former cathedral turned mosque that now serves as a museum, back into a Muslim house of worship. The Council of State threw its weight behind a petition brought by a religious group and an elder 1934 cabinet decision that changed the 6th century building into a museum. The ruling allows the government to restore the Hagia Sophia's previous status as a mosque. The decision was in line with the Turkish president's calls to turn the hugely symbolic World Heritage Site into a mosque despite widespread international criticism, including from the United States and Orthodox Christian leaders. The decision could deepen tensions with neighboring Greece, which also called on Turkey to maintain the structure's status as a museum.
That's it, it's from India Daily Podcast Service. Thank you.